Jacksonville Jaguars fans, welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thanks so much for being here Thursday, November 6th. Right now, we're talking about the Jaguars and the rest of their season. They're basically halfway through the year. There's 17 games now. They've played 8 of their games. It is week 10. There's 18 weeks in the season. So, technically halfway through the Texans game. We'll be halfway through the season. But for all intents and purposes, they're basically halfway through right now. And they're 5-3. The question is, will they make the playoffs? What's going to happen over the next 9 games? Are they going to win the games they should win? Are they going to lose some games they should win? Are they going to beat some teams that maybe on paper you don't think they'll beat? We're going to go through the rest of the schedule. We're going to talk about what the Jaguars are doing well right now, what they're struggling with, how things might play out moving forward. I'm really excited to look ahead here. Appreciate y'all being here. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. You can also check out GenJag.com, pick up some new Duval gear, help support our channel here and look good while doing it. A lot of fun stuff up on the site right now. And every order does come with one of these little guys. Love those. Jaguars. We'll look at this schedule, but first we're going to talk about what they're doing well right now. One thing they have done consistently well throughout the year is stop the run. They have one of the best run defenses in football, bar none, like without question. Their run defense has been pretty much stellar every single week. The one game where their opponent really ran on them with any consistency was against the Chiefs. They were able to win that game in a crazy, wild, absolute, shootout of a game. But overall, you look at the Jaguars and their team stats on defense against the run. It's among the best in the league, and they're averaging 3.8 yards per carry allowed. If you take away what quarterbacks have done, it's more like 3.5 yards per carry against opposing running backs. They're only allowing 86.9 yards per game on the ground. And for context, that's the third fewest yards per game allowed on the ground in the NFL right now. When it comes to the average allowed, they're at 5th, 3.8. So I'm really impressed. When you look at the rushing touchdowns they've only allowed 4 rushing touchdowns so far this year. That's the 4th best number in the league. They're punching the ball out fairly well. That has slowed down a little bit as of late, but still doing a good job there. So their run defense is really good. And what does that do? That helps you, in theory, force opponents to get into 3rd and long situations. Now, the problem is the pass defense hasn't been nearly as consistent as the run defense, and they need to improve there, and it's going to be a little difficult to improve when you have Eric Murray on the sideline for the next 3 weeks at minimum. It is good that Devin Lloyd appears to be back. He practiced fully on Wednesday and said he's going to be good to go this weekend. He'd been dealing with the calf. I don't want to say that Devin Lloyd being out has caused the Jaguars defense to slip entirely, but I do think that there's some correlation there. I absolutely do. I think that having him out there gives them so much more versatility, consistency, and just playmaking ability from a pass rush standpoint, run defense, and in coverage. So, yeah, I think getting Devin Lloyd back out there will be huge for this football team. You would love to see Eric Murray back, but that's not going to happen for at least 3 weeks. So that's where you're at there. I do think Greg Newsome and Buster Brown can do a pretty good job as your outside corners. Will Jordan Lewis play this week? Don't know, but the good news is you do have Jarian Jones at the very least, who is a feisty, hardworking, athletic nickel who I think can come in and at least perform at a reasonably high level for you. Pass rush wise, it needs to get going. Opposing teams have been dinking and dunking on them, specifically against the Rams and the Raiders. Those two teams were getting the ball out so quick against the Jaguars. It's difficult to get something going as a pass rush. Still, you've got to be able to affect the quarterback a little bit more. Against the Seahawks, it was a little bit of a different story because the Seahawks were just going into 13 personnel a lot, and you just weren't really prepared for that. that the Jaguars weren't ready for that. They figured it out later in the game. They were able to get rushed with blitzing, and that helped them stop the Seahawks for the most part in the second half. After the first drive of the second half, they completely shut down the Seahawks offense. They've got to figure out how to force teams to not be able to get the ball out so quickly. They've got to. Campanile said today, you've got to be a little bit, less cushion, a little bit more aggressive, maybe some more zone match concepts. The man match or the man concepts, they can work, but the Jaguars, Buster Brown's not a man corner. He's just not. And you try to go man-to-man against Brock Bowers last week, that's not going to work very well. Just been stuck in between a rock and a hard place at times. And again, going back to the linebacker position without Devin Lloyd, that's been a little bit difficult in coverage. Safety without Eric Murray, and they'd love to have Caleb Ransaw, but he's not walking through that door this year. I don't know if you might start trying Rayon Lane a little bit. I don't know. But that's where they're at there. But the pass rush, I think, can get heated up, and you saw it get heated up when the opposing team felt like they really had to drop back and use that drop back passing game to win the game. That happened against the Raiders, and you see Josh Hines-Allen get heated up. So that's what they've got to do. They've got to start playing with more leads, too. I mean, outside of the Raiders game, which was a back-and-forth game, and the previous 3 weeks they had been playing from behind. Against the Chiefs, they were down 14 points at one point. Against the Seahawks, they were down 14 points at one point. Against the Rams, they were down by 14 plus points a lot. So you've got to get yourself into better game script and be a little bit more aggressive in coverage, in my opinion, to be able to get the pass rush going a little bit more. Offensively, similar to defense, they are running the ball well. They are running the ball very well. And you absolutely do love to see that. Travis Etienne playing great football. I think Bashal Tutin is playing tough football, playing pretty good as a backup right now, despite not getting a ton of carries. And then LeQuint Allen, every time he's out there, it seems like he's hitting somebody, which you love to see. Offensively, on the run game, the Jaguars are they're rushing for, where are they at? They're rushing for 123 yards a game, and they've had a couple where they haven't really been able to put up a ton of rushing yards. They haven't run the ball a ton in some of those games where they've been down again by 14 plus points, but they're averaging 4.5 yards a carry. They're averaging 123 yards a game on the ground. Travis Etienne's playing great. They have 9 rushing touchdowns. Trevor Lawrence has had a big impact on those rushing touchdowns for sure. I think that they're a team that can feel confident in their running game. And a lot of that has to do with Liam Cohen. A lot of it has to do with the new attitude of the offensive line, some of the new talent, and a lot of it, again, goes to Travis Etienne, who's playing great football. So kudos to him. Passing game-wise, bottom line, it's been inconsistent. You've seen inconsistencies from the quarterback. You've seen inconsistencies from the offensive line pass protection. You've seen inconsistencies from the receivers. You've seen inconsistency pre-snap with the ability to get lined up properly. So, yeah, the passing game has still been a major, major work in progress. But I think you have seen progress from the passing game, specifically the quarterback, over the last month. Again, we talked about this earlier, but you've seen Trevor Lawrence over the last 4 games, 8 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. He's averaging 275 total yards a game. He's not turning the ball over. He's not putting the ball in harm's way a ton. Obviously, yes, I know that he did one time against the against the Raiders. And then he's also, starting to really push the ball and have some more success pushing the ball. I think Jacoby Myers can definitely help be a stabilizing force for the passing offense. I really do. You want Brian Thomas Jr. back, but he's been inconsistent. You want Travis Hunter back. He's been fairly consistent when you targeted him. Parker Washington, outside of the Rams game, has done a good job for the Jaguars. Tim Patrick looks to be healthy. So I think you've got some pieces there to try to, continue to grow So overall, I think the Jaguars are doing a really good job running the ball and stopping the run. I think that they're a work in progress with their passing offense that's trending in the right direction. I think you've obviously got to stop beating yourself with pre-snap penalties. Defensively, the pass coverage, I think if they can get that squared away a little bit more, that's going to help the pass rush and vice versa. They have pieces to be better than they have been. I don't think that they're going to be elite with their safety group right now. So that's where I'm at there. Special teams wise, they got to do a better job covering kicks. Cam Little came back in a big way this past week. I thought Logan Cook did well too in multiple facets of the game. So that's where I have the Jaguars at right now, in all phases. Now, looking at their upcoming schedule, actually, let's look at the standings. So the Jaguars are 5-3. They're in second place in the AFC South. The Colts are 7-2. They are in first place in the AFC South. They're like a game and a half ahead of the Jaguars, I guess you would say. They've played one more game than the Jags. The Jags have one more loss than the Colts. The Colts have a more difficult upcoming schedule than the Jaguars do. The Jaguars' internal goal is to win their division. James Gladstone has not shied away from that. He's talked about that multiple times when meeting with the media. The goal is for the Jaguars to win the division. They are within striking distance of doing that. And in fact, they control their own destiny because they play the Colts twice. Now, if you're not able to win your division, you're talking about trying to make the wild card. The Jaguars currently are in 7th place in the wild card. The team ahead of them at 6th place, the Los Angeles Chargers, is a team on their schedule. You also have the Broncos at 7-2. They're leading the AFC West. They are also on the Jaguars schedule. So they have an opportunity to make up games against teams ahead of them in the playoff race, including the Colts, Broncos, and Chargers. They already beat the Chiefs. The Texans are currently, and the Chiefs are in 8th place. The Texans are currently in 9th place, and they play them this weekend with no CJ Stroud, so they have an opportunity there. Outside of that, no one is really within striking distance, so the Jaguars 100% control their own destiny, which is a good place to be in halfway through the season. A really good place. I look at the teams that are in competition with them for the 7 seed. Obviously, the Chiefs are if you don't win your division, even though the Chiefs are 5-4 and you beat them, you do have the tiebreaker against them, which is big. They are a major threat. I would be just shocked if the Chiefs don't make the playoffs. So who's going to fall out, right? I could still see the Steelers falling out, but they seem to just win games, as Mike Tomlin teams tend to do. The Chargers, they are having difficulty with their offensive tackle situation right now in a big way. There's some deficiencies on that team, but they do have obviously some great aspects of that team. I think they're well coached. I think that they've got some receivers making plays. Justin Herbert is a very good quarterback. They've got some dudes on defense as well, and a really good defensive coordinator. I don't see the Bills falling out. I don't see the Broncos falling all the way out. Patriots are 7-2, unbelievably. That's just one of the stories of the season. Colts as well. So I think that the Jaguars' goal should be to win the division, because if you don't win your division, there's a good chance you're not among the top 7 teams at the end of the year in the AFC. So you got Murray whining outside the door right now. Somebody could help me out with that, but that's okay. Remaining schedule. We're talking about all this stuff. What are they actually going to do? They're at Houston this week. They have the opportunity to sweep the Texans for the first time since 2017. I think they're going to do it. I'm not making any, I'm not holding back. I'm not being reserved about that one. I think they're going to beat Houston in Houston. I think they're the better football team. I think they're the better football team even with CJ Stroud on the field. We're going to preview that game hot and heavy, so I'm not going to go all the way into it, but I think that the Texans have a really big deficiency on their offensive line. I don't think that their play calling has improved very much. They have had some decent days on the ground as of late, but mostly against bad run defenses. I think the Jaguars have a very good run defense. I think the Jaguars are going to shut down the Houston Texans offense enough and score enough against a really good Houston Texans defense that might be a little banged up. We'll see how it ends up playing out injury-wise to win that football game. So they're going to get to 6-3 in my opinion. Then you play the Chargers and the Cardinals. I have if I had to pick those two games, I would pick them to lose to the Chargers and beat the Cardinals, but I have them going 1-1. I could see it going either way. Again, the Chargers dealing with the offensive tackle situation. Both of your starters, which are kind of like the foundational pieces of your team, are out. Really sucks for them. I feel bad for their fans for sure, but it is what it is. They're having to deal with that right now. And then the Cardinals benching Kyler Murray. They're not a great team right now. They're not. So they could go two, and I mean they could win their next 3 games. They could go on a 4-game winning streak and then play the Titans at Tennessee. I think it would be bullish to put the Jaguars on a 5-game winning streak, but it's possible. I'm going to say, though, the Jaguars beat the Texans. They go 1-1 against the Chargers and Cardinals, and that puts them at 7-4. And then they beat the Titans in Tennessee. I think the Titans are really, really bad right now. There's some talent here and there, but they're really bad. They're in a bad situation, bad spot. So the Jaguars get to 8-4, and then they play the Colts in Jacksonville December 7th. Colts haven't won in Jacksonville in over a decade. I'm going to have the Jaguars winning that football game. 8-4. The schedule, it's shaping up to be very favorable for the Jaguars. Then you have the Jets. Is that 8-4 or is that 9-4? Texans 6-3, Chargers 6-4, Cardinals 7-4, Titans 8-4, Colts 9-4. Then you have the New York Jets at home, 10-4. At Denver, I'll give that to the Broncos, 10-5. At Indy, I'll give that to the Colts, 10-6. Versus Tennessee in Jacksonville, potentially you're clinching your division, potentially you're clinching a playoff spot, whatever it might be, 11-6. That's where I'm at with the Jaguars right now. Before the bye, or during the bye, we did an exercise where I looked at the upcoming schedule. I had them at 9-8. I had them beating the Raiders. I had them losing to the Texans. So that's one big difference. I also had them getting swept by the Colts. That's the other difference. I have them winning 1 game against the Colts. So it's really the divisional matchups that I'm flipping on here a little bit, because I think you saw some issues with the Colts against the Steelers for sure. I think you saw Daniel Jones come back down to earth. I think that if you can slow down their running game, they can have some major issues. That's where I'm at. I think the Jaguars 11-6. I think if you think they get swept by the Colts, 10-7. If you get swept by the Colts, that's puts them in a position certainly to probably win the division. If you split with the Colts, I think that it's anybody's game, because the Colts have a difficult schedule down the stretch, playing some really good football teams. Let me know where y'all are at, and if you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a good one.